He had trained for this moment for years, every lesson, every simulation, every tense negotiation drilled into him with meticulous precision. The mission was clear: negotiate peace between humanity and the Krelian Empire, a species known for their rigid hierarchy and merciless tactics. Yet, nothing in any training could have prepared him for the way the room fell silent the instant he stepped onto the alien throne platform. The starship's bridge, usually humming with life and energy, had been transformed into a ceremonial hall for the Krelian Queen's audience. Its walls shimmered with an iridescent glow, and the floor seemed almost alive, pulsing faintly beneath his boots. Alien attendants, sleek and angular, moved in precise, rehearsed motions, keeping their eyes cast down. Every creature in the room was watching, waiting, measuring. He adjusted his stance, trying to appear confident. The weight of humanity's hopes pressed against his chest like a heavy armor. One wrong word, one misstep, and the fragile truce could shatter before it even began. He could feel the anxiety coiling in his stomach, but he forced himself to breathe, calm, controlled, focused. The doors at the far end of the hall opened with a soft hiss, and there she appeared, the Krelian Queen. Her form was both magnificent and intimidating, regal and terrifying. She moved with the grace of a predator and the authority of someone born to command. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver, reflecting the light in 1,000 subtle hues. Her eyes were enormous, black pools that seemed to see not just him, but through him. For a moment, he froze. But it wasn't her appearance that made him falter. It was the inexplicable jolt in the back of his mind, the way a memory he didn't know he had flickered to life. The Queen froze as well, her elegant head tilting slightly, a gesture almost imperceptible. Her eyes, which rarely betrayed emotion, widened in something close to recognition. The hall was deadly silent. Even the attendants seemed to hold their breath. "Come in peace," he said, his voice firm but carefully measured. "I am the human envoy, here to negotiate terms that can benefit both our species." The Queen's gaze locked onto him, and for a heartbeat, the world shrank. It was as if time had slowed, stretching every second into eternity. There was something in his voice, something she hadn't heard in countless cycles, something that made her pause, made her memory stir. "Your voice," she murmured, almost to herself. Her words barely carried across the room, yet they were charged with a power that made the air crackle. "I know that voice." He didn't understand her reaction. Voices were rarely remembered by anyone outside one's species. But it was clear that his presence, his very identity, had pierced some invisible veil in her mind. He steadied himself, keeping his hands at his sides, letting her examine him. "I assure you, Your Majesty," he continued, choosing his words carefully, "I am here only to speak of peace. Humanity has extended its hand in goodwill, and I hope we can find common ground." The Queen's expression remained unreadable, yet something shifted in the tension surrounding her. Her attendants adjusted their positions, as if responding to an unspoken command. The atmosphere thickened, a mixture of curiosity, caution, and something else, something almost personal. "Step closer," she finally said, her voice steady but edged with something he couldn't name. The command was gentle yet absolute. Took a cautious step forward, aware that every movement was being scrutinized. His pulse thudded in his ears, but he maintained his composure. Negotiation was as much about observation as it was about speech, and he had learned to read silence as carefully as words. "Why do you sound like that?" she asked, her gaze never leaving his. "I have not heard a voice like yours in cycles." He paused, uncertain how to answer. "I am human," he said simply. "Perhaps that is why it seems strange." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "No, not strange. Familiar, dangerous in its calm." The words hung in the air, puzzling him. Dangerous. Calm. He had spoken to dozens of alien leaders, seen fear, suspicion, curiosity, but never this. He wondered if he had made a mistake, if somehow he had triggered an old memory buried deep in the Queen's mind. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "I do not wish to provoke you. I wish only to negotiate terms of peace. Our species have suffered enough conflict. Surely there is a path forward that avoids further bloodshed." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, unexpectedly, she gestured toward a smaller chamber adjacent to the hall. "We will speak privately. Come." He nodded, masking his surprise. Private negotiations were rare, almost unheard of for a first meeting. It suggested either extreme trust or extreme curiosity. He followed her, stepping onto the path that led deeper into the palace. The chamber was smaller, more intimate, yet still undeniably alien. Light refracted from walls that seemed liquid, and the air hummed softly with an energy that made his skin tingle. The Queen seated herself on a raised platform, her posture as impeccable as before. "Sit," she commanded. He did, keeping his hands visible, showing no weapons, showing only intent. "You are human," she began, her tone softer now, almost contemplative. "And yet, you remind me of someone." He blinked. "I do not understand." She leaned slightly forward. Long ago, there was one, a human who stood against my forces, not with hatred, not with conquest, but with reason, with courage. He spoke with the same calm, the same conviction. And he changed the course of a war that seemed inevitable. He swallowed, his mind racing. The Queen was referring to events he had only read about in history files, tales of human diplomats and soldiers who had turned the tide of interstellar conflict through courage and ingenuity. And somehow, his voice, the way he carried himself, had triggered her memory. "I am no one like him," he said quietly. "I am merely a messenger." She studied him for a long moment. Then, with a subtle gesture, she relaxed slightly, the rigid tension around her easing. "Perhaps you are more than that. Perhaps your presence here is no coincidence." He leaned forward, sensing the moment's significance. "If humanity has extended a hand of peace, it is sincere. We wish to end hostility, to prevent further loss on either side. That is the only purpose of my mission." Her eyes softened, but only slightly, like ice beginning to crack. "And yet, so many humans have fought us, destroyed my people. How can I trust one human now?" He met her gaze steadily. "Because I am here, in this moment. Because I speak with truth. Because the future is not bound by past conflict. Trust, it is built through action, not memory." A silence fell, thick and profound. She seemed to weigh his words against the memory that flickered behind her eyes. And then, slowly, she spoke. "Very well, tell me your terms." He nodded, relief washing over him in quiet waves. The negotiation had begun not with threats or ultimatums, but with understanding, with the fragile bridge of shared recognition. Humanity and the Krellian Empire had long been enemies. But in that room, in that precise moment, there was a spark of hope. The discussion was long, meticulous, tense. They spoke of territorial boundaries, trade agreements, cultural exchange, and military descolorization. Each proposal was examined, each counteroffer weighed carefully. He presented humanity's perspective with clarity and honesty, emphasizing the desire for mutual benefit. She listened, questioned, and occasionally challenged, but always with a growing respect that surprised him. Hours passed, though time felt distorted in the chamber. Eventually, they reached a preliminary agreement, a fragile outline of peace, enough to prevent immediate conflict, enough to allow dialogue to continue on firmer ground. The Queen stood, her posture as commanding as ever, yet there was an unmistakable shift in her demeanor. She extended a hand, a gesture rare among her people, one usually reserved for those she trusted. "You have changed my perspective. Human," she said, her voice quiet but resolute. "Perhaps your presence here is proof that the future need not mirror the past." He took her hand, a simple gesture laden with significance. "May this be the beginning of a new chapter, Your Majesty, for both our species." As he left the chamber, returning to his ship, he could feel the weight of the mission still pressing on him, but now it was tempered with hope. Humanity had survived countless trials, had faced enemies that seemed insurmountable, and yet, here, they were, standing on the threshold of peace with a species once considered unyielding. The Korean Queen had frozen when she heard his voice, a moment that could have been a trap or a fluke of recognition. Instead, it became the doorway to understanding, a reminder that even in the vast, impersonal reaches of space, human courage, reason, and integrity could leave an imprint strong enough to alter destinies. As he stared at the stars outside his viewport, he realized that this mission was more than negotiation. It was a testament to humanity itself. Even in the face of alien worlds, of histories steeped in conflict and mistrust, the human spirit had a way of reaching across the void. Sometimes, all it took was a voice, a calm conviction, and a willingness to believe in something better. And in that quiet triumph, he allowed himself a rare smile. The journey ahead would be long and filled with challenges, but for the first time, he felt certain that peace, enduring peace, was possible.